All right. Ooh, 7 o'clock. I would like to call to order the June 16, 2025 City Council meeting at 7 PM. If you all rise for a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I usually hear Llewellyn in my back and follow his lead, but he's not here today. Tonight, we have Jeanette Santiago online, and Counselor Tyler Miller is excused absence. Everybody else is present. Take a look at tonight's agenda. I'm looking for an approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Counselor Holmes makes a motion to approve as written. Any seconds? Second by Counselor Jacobs. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. This is the time when we have public comment. Anybody online, anything written, anything turned in? Okay. We will close public comment. We do have some public hearings tonight as well. Tonight's consent agenda, we're looking at June 2nd, 2025 City Council meeting minutes and resolution number 25-06, resolution of the City of Scappoose repealing resolution 24-08 and extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Scappoose. Motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question
Yeah.
about the resolution number 25-06.
Yes.
This is just kind of a continuation of what we have. We've got some coverage for volunteers.
Correct.
And this is a change or a proposal of a continuation?
Go ahead, Susan. Every single year.
Okay. Okay.
Kind of annual approval.
Correct.
So my question is on number 4, the non-public safety volunteers, since we are considering perhaps, expanding the range of volunteer opportunities within the city, would we want to maybe expand the eligible coverage? Say if we had maybe, someone who is teaching a recreation program at the library or. at
Right,
the
so
senior center.
4 currently says applicable with Parks and Recreation.
Oh, so it would all like be any of those activities. Would there be
Right.
any situation where we have people volunteering at, say, the senior center or the library under like city charge?
Nothing foreseeable this time, but if we did, we would just contact our insurance and see what we need to do to adjust the resolution.
Okay.
For then
I
get
would-
added.
Probably ask if their insurance are covering our volunteer, if we volunteer at the senior center, maybe their insurance would cover us as well, or whoever.
Okay, I just want to make sure this is inclusive enough.
No,
as
that
we
was a good
think
question.
about expanding our volunteer opportunities. Okay. That's it.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Counselor Haugen, any seconds?
Second.
Second by Counselor Holmes. Any discussion? Seeing no more. All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, motion carries. Okay, tonight, we are number 2. And our raise. 2025 rate increase for garbage and recycling collection services provided by Waste Management. Dave Huber, Waste Management Senior Manager, Public Sector Services, here tonight to give us the staff report. You come up to the microphone, just talk nice and loud so they can hear you online.
And Mr. Mayor, hi Dave,
Yes.
good to see you.
Good.
I am going to go ahead and actually recuse myself from the conversation and approval. So the company I work for, Circular Action Alliance, is currently working out a contract, a funding agreement with Waste Management for some funding and support that may impact future rates. So I will go ahead just to, out of ensuring there's no perceived conflict of interest, I'm going to recuse myself. So Susan, I'll just step out the door if you want to see.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. Hopefully you can hear me all right online. And good evening, City Councilors. My name is Dave Huber. I am Waste Management's Public Sector, Senior Public Sector Manager for our municipalities that we serve throughout the Portland metro area. This evening, what we have in front of you is a annual CPI rate increase request, which is it is part of the franchise agreement that we are allowed to annually come in and request a CPI increase, which equates to a 4.792% increase on the rates and services that we provide for the community here in the city of Scappoose. This increase is really in line with the disposal increase that we are going to see here at the Columbia County Transfer Station on the solid waste disposal fee. So we feel like with this CPI increase, this is going to keep us within that reasonable rate of return as we look forward here into this next year, with it kind of taking care of that disposal increase that we're going to see at the Columbia County Transfer Station. So with that, we provide comprehensive solid waste services here in the city with weekly garbage, every other week recycling services. We also provide every other week yard debris services on a subscription basis. And from the operations end of things, things are going great operationally. I think for some of you, you probably recall a couple of years ago, we moved our trucks and our operations. They all are parked now over in Hillsboro off of Blanton Street and Cornelius Pass Road. That's actually, it's worked really well for us as we were able to find some synergies with, efficiencies for the recycling part of that, taking the recycling back to that side of town in Hillsboro. It's really worked well. And, other than that, everything seems to be working great here in the city of Scappoose. So with that, open it up to any questions that you may have.
Real quick question on that. Do you load up a garbage truck here and then take it to St. Helens, empty it, then take it back to Hillsboro when done?
Exactly. Yep. That's
But
correct.
recycling, you just go straight back to Hillsboro.
We do. There are times when the truck here in the city of Scappoose where it might become more than one load. So if that's the case, we do run the truck up to St. Helens where we can dump the recycling up there and it gets recycled. But then we take the rest of the load back with us on the
Like
way
go up
home.
there, dump, come pick a few more up, take the few back home.
Exactly.
The CPI, you said is like a 4.27, and that's anticipation for an increase at the transfer. If all of a sudden, I'm kind of reading, if that came in all of a sudden at 12%, like it jumped, you could come back and ask, but you're kind of guesstimating that that's based on history and everything, that should cover their increase. If they also came back and said price gone down, would you come back and say, hey, it's miraculous, something happened and they didn't raise our price and it went down, so we could review it at that time as well?
We could.
But typically, it's history. It's always going to go up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's always more than what you anticipate or hope for, I guess, if you will. And that is in the works right now at the county level. If I recall, I believe that is supposed to go in front of the Board of Commissioners for approval here in the next week, or it might be the week after this. And it's right in line with that 4.792% increase. So.
And how do we compare to like a Washington County, or is it pretty similar in rates?
Yeah, good question, Mayor. And I would be more than happy to come back and provide a comparative of rates and services. That's always really helpful, I think, for everybody to see, and we're not afraid to show that. And we are competitive. The rates that are the rates that the customers are charged here in the city of Scappoose are typically going to be lower than the cities in the metro region because of all the metro fees and taxes that are applied to those costs and services, which I believe that equates to about 35% of the cost. So yeah, the rates and fees that we provide here in Scappoose are really comparable to unincorporated Columbia County and the other areas here in Columbia County as well.
And this process is the same in all your counties, the rate increase per year, CPI, all those are, it's pretty similar in all of the areas that you cover.
Exactly. Yeah. Very similar to a lot of the agreements that we have where it's an annual CPI that's built into the agreement.
Any more questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Hogan.
thanks for being here this evening, Dave. So what are the nearest communities that you serve to Scappoose?
Yes, so Counselor, we service unincorporated Columbia County, so all of the areas outside of the city limits of Scappoose.
So how about like St. Helens?
We don't service the city of St. Helens for residential or commercial garbage and recycling. So other than Scappoose, the only other city here in Columbia County that we service is the city of Vernonia.
City of Vernonia, okay.
Correct. We service unincorporated Multnomah County, so we do service Sauvie Island and the West Hills there in Multnomah County, and then of course the city of Portland and unincorporated Washington County.
Okay. Can you compare the rates with what St. Helens collection?
You know, I didn't bring those with me tonight, and I wish I would have, but I can certainly send those to you and forward those rates as a comparative. I do want to say, I believe the rates are a little higher in the city of St. Helens because they might, I believe some of their services are more on a weekly basis. So for example, here, the recycling is on an every other week schedule as well as the yard debris, which is really helpful because that does keep the costs down for the community.
Yeah, so I assume that's Hudson that's providing the services then in St. Helens. Hudson?
Waste Connections, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Waste Connections is in the city of St. Helens.
Who does Warren then?
Hudson,
Waste
yes,
Connections, yeah.
Waste Connections.
Yeah.
But that would be a useful reference point for us on. Because I mean, yeah, because we have to justify these rate increases, and so but it would be a useful reference point.
You bet, Counselor, and I'd be more than happy to get those comparatives and send them your way so you can see that too.
That'd be terrific. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just like everything, yeah, we have rate increases in water and sewer, all the energy, everything. And so it's good to see how we compare to other cities or close cities so we can justify and so it's good to know all that information. Jeanette, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted, I just want to make a note, not just the CPI rates are going up on July 1st, but aren't some other counties, because they say they covers county, so aren't Columbia County's disposal rates going up in July 1st? And if they are, I don't know those rates, so that would be an additional. Is that correct?
They are also going up effective July 1st if the Board of Commissioner approves those rates, but those wouldn't have anything to do with the city of Scappoose rates going up. Those are different. But
would you serve, I'm sorry, but you just said you serve people that are in the county, and so would those also, would they get double increase in rates, which is county, and then your rates, CPI rates?
No, because the
Okay.
CPI is just for the city of Scappoose, and then the county rates would be separate.
They're built
Okay.
into these prices because they take material to the county and dispose of it. And so you guys get charged, and that's built into our rate. And so their increase is one reason why ours is going up, but there's not a double.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. Thank you for, just put it on record. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that's understandable. I know it's not a double, but it's it's basically the disposal fee when we go to the transfer station to dump the trucks. That's the rate increase that's going up. So this will, hopefully keep us in that reasonable rate of return, to cover that disposal increase.
And obviously fuel prices are going up, everything is going up. So this kind of covers all of your increases.
Exactly. You're correct, Mayor. This, of course, the last few years have been, a challenge when it comes to the inflationary costs. Not aside from disposal costs, we have the, keeping our employees, providing great benefits and wages to them. So this will keep us, in that, keep us whole, if you will, for this next year.
Okay. So by ordinance or resolution, we have to vote to approve. So if there's no more discussion, I look for a motion to approve tonight's the increases.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I propose we defer approval until we can get the full data, so we have that the basis to make our judgment on. So what St. Helens rates are, and without that, we're operating in the blind.
Well, I think that would take, that would, to me, we're voting on an increase, but if I would look at the whole process, to see how we compare, overall, to negotiate a contract. Is this an agreement we have signed like we do with PUD, a franchise agreement?
Correct, yeah, and there's actually on page 19, it includes a portion of that talks about the rates. And talking about the difference kind of between a rate review compared to just a CPI increase, where a rate review would probably more be between what you're talking about, Joel. We want to compare other rates, see what the structure is, see if we're aligned with that, compared to what Waste Management is here to, is just that section about the CPI increase, which is just around their cost of living.
Right. So for example, if St. Helens is 10% below our current rates, and we're going to go up 4.72 with this rate adjustment, it'd be nice to know that before we vote on it.
I think, though, we have to do that in another time. It says here, the rates established will be reviewed annually by the city council or designee. City council or designee will review the rates such time we deem appropriate. In addition, the franchise may request a rate review when substantial costs. The council may, by separate resolution, modify. So tonight, we're looking at just the CPI part of it, and then maybe we can request to review that.
If we approve that tonight, that locks us into the rate increase. And so,
Well, we're also locked in. Yeah.
If I understand the agreement correctly, I think the agreement allows us for a CPI every year. So this again, if I understand the agreement, that's how this is allowable every year. But if we were to come in and request more than a CPI increase, that's when we'd have to come in for a full blown rate review and further discussion and certainly provide those comparables too. But yeah, this is part of the agreement on an annual basis.
Ben, can you comment on that?
That's how I was reading the contract too, is it? Because it says the CPI increases in lieu of a formal rate review. So that would just be their typical every year to keep their same costs going. But if we want to do a formal rate review, or if you do request or they wanted to because costs were beyond CPI, we would want to do, or the council would do much more in-depth analysis of that to determine if it's
Well, to
competitive.
provide some solace here, if you will commit to providing the data, for St. Helens and Vernonia, for example, so we can use that, so we could conceivably approve this evening, but at least we'll have this arm for the next round.
Of course.
Jeanette, Counselor Santiago.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question is, it seems like the proposed date for the increase is July 1st of 2025. So we're in June already. So if we prolong this, what does that mean? And would those rates, whatever they be at the end, would they be prorated or so? Just question on the deadline.
Yeah, good question. I think, I mean, if I could answer that, yeah, we're hoping to make it a July 1st effective date, which, yeah, it's coming up pretty quick. If that weren't to happen, then we would request that it be prorated in August, just so we don't fall behind and it's in alignment with the CPI per the agreement.
Or then I may look at like approving the CPI increase, but then also ask for a formal rate review. And then whenever, maybe that's for next year, or maybe you can look at it in the middle, but it does say in lieu of formal rate review, the franchisee may request once each year an increase in its rates equal to the CPI. The city may grant the request without conducting a rate review. If the franchise does not request an increase by June 1, then the parties shall conduct a formal rate review as provided. So instead, we've kind of probably should have requested an official review sooner. Yes.
If I may. So I think here what is also a challenge is the fact that this is coming in at the 11th hour. And communication is key in messaging to your customers and your clients well in advance. So the fact that we got the letter dated May 30th, the day before what's stipulated in the contract, in my opinion, this conversation should have started at least 30 to 45 days in advance before we got here, because now we're placed in a situation in which we have to defend how these rates are going to impact our population here. And we have a very significant retired population here, and these rates are going to impact them. So my preference is that for next year, that this starts 60 days in advance. And I think it's in our best interest to also do an RFI to just ensure we're getting the right level of service along with the right level of costs for our residents. Unfortunately, I do read the contract and I understand where we're at. I do want to second Councilor Haugen's request that on good faith that you will provide comparables for us so that we can have that, because we are going to need something to communicate outbound. And then my next question actually to you, sir, would be, how is this going to be messaged if you're going to increase effective July 1? We're talking a few weeks away.
Yeah, Counselor, you have very valid points there. And if I may, we tried to, I think the intent here was to see what the disposal cost increase was going to look like here at the county level, with the disposal increase coming up at the transfer station. But we can certainly, as we look to the future, we can certainly attempt to get this in front of you sooner, as long as we know what that's going to look like at the county level, because that's what's really impacting us, is that disposal increase. But to your point, we would prefer to give our customers at least a 30-day notification. It's just better. It's just good business to do. And of course, that's not obtainable this evening if this were to be approved. So if it helps, we could make it effective August 1st. I certainly be open to that. And then that gives us some time to get the notifications out to the customers. before the billing, or at least when the billing goes out to let them know. So,
And I do want to comment just on one more part of that CPI. There does give the allowance for the council to still request a rate review. I mean, it says in there, the city may grant it without a rate review. So if the council is not feeling comfortable and they really want that, that is still within the authority of the contract. If you want to do this, make sure there's 30-day notice. I mean, there is still that. This is a negotiation. It's working with a partner. We want to make sure we're all working together in good faith, and that we're helping them obviously meet their business needs, but at the same time, you guys want to make sure we're not being steamrolled either way. So I think the flexibility is there. It just really depends if you think that's really needed for the CPI, or if you want to do the CPI now and then let's do the rate review separate from that. I think it allows for all those mechanisms. It'd be up to the council to determine how to go forward with that.
So what I'm hearing, there doesn't seem to be any harm to punting this to the July meeting. And we get more information and then it'd be effective August 1st, or it could even conceivably be retroactive to July 1st if everybody is agreeable.
I would not be in favor of doing a retroactive to our population. I would want
Right.
a minimum of a 30-day communication going outbound to our residents
That's
so that they would be notified. And then the rates go into effect on, say, August 1st.
We don't meet again till July 21st, though. So you'd have to approve it tonight.
yeah,
Even for that 30 days.
we'd be in the same situation next month if that were the case.
And it does say, in determining whether change in rates is appropriate, city council will consider the following. And we haven't gone through, substantial fulfillment, quality of service, prevailing rates. We can start that and ask for that, but that would really set this all back quite a while.
And Mayor, that's typically in a rate review session,
Yeah.
if we were to come in and ask for more than the CPI, if I understand.
Counselor Santiago?
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree that we do need to give our residents enough notice for any type of increase in their billings and finances. My question is, I know it's a percentage, but on dollars average, what are we looking at here on the increase?
$1 or $2, $1.20,
A dollar.
$1.60, $1.10, $1.12, 97 cents.
And that
Yes,
is a month, correct?
Exactly. That is
Okay.
correct. For the average customer, the average customer has a 35-gallon garbage cart. And that would go from the current rate of $26.10 to $27.35. So $1.25 increase.
Again,
And
with
just-
all typically when we raise a water rate, what do we give them a certain amount of notice? Do we have a resolution of an ordinance says we got to give them 30 days notice? Is there anything we have set on our fees? I don't know if there is. I mean,
Susan, do you know if
standard
there's
practice.
anything? I know we just do the fee resolution every year to update those.
So kind of hearing a couple here, you could make a motion to approve it with a August 1st effective date, giving them a month, and then request a rate review going forward. Looking at our contract, seeing when that open period is to look at, because I don't think we've done a rate review in a while to see how we compare to others probably. Or even other cities of our, I know you have,
That's a very good.
okay,
So, Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Jacob.
I will make a motion that we approve the CPI rate increase for waste management effective August 1st, with the intent that waste management will communicate out at least 30 days to the residents of the rate increases for the effective August 1st date.
Motion to approve the CPI increase with effective August 1st date. You can give notice to, residents.
Before we all get a second, do we need to weave in, we're going to condition this and have a review for the next biennium?
Probably not as part of the resolution, but ask that Ben follow up and work with Dave to get that information.
So do we need to fold that into the resolution,
Into the motion?
in the motion?
That's a,
I,
I would think that'd be separate because we're motioning for his rate approval, but you're directing the staff to do a rate increase kind of separate from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
any seconds?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Haugen. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? We got one opposed. Don't think that's four, so that's enough. Motion carries. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the flexibility there. The one thing is the county looking at their increases the same time every year? Is it just, are they a little slower than normal? Is there a way to look at ours after we know what the increases are, so you can be more accurate, whether it's higher or lower? Is there
Yeah.
always?
They do typically go through that process about the same time every year and usually make them effective July 1st. So I think this was just our attempt to try to
Yeah,
catch it at the same time, if you will. I don't know if there's any way they can do it quicker on the county
Yeah.
level, but yeah. So
it would be ways to have our contract be like a month after they were always, so you would know if you could go lower than a CPI 1 year, or if you had to ask for more justified. But you also probably have history and could say every year, you've seen the numbers. We know the numbers. Doesn't change a whole bunch, I'm sure.
yeah, exactly.
All right, are we all
Thank you.
good?
We
Okay.
are good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
You can get Kim.
One thing, Dave, could you give us a kind of a timeline when we can get the reference information that we requested?
For the rates,
Yeah,
I should be able to get those, at least here in the next, if you give me the next.
We have a meeting in a month, so
Okay,
anytime before that would be
That'd be
good. to
great.
review.
that'd be good. Okay.
thank you.
But also, I think it is upon us to look at rating others. They don't cover St. Helens, so each,
It's
they,
just giving us a reference point.
Yeah. and we can look at any other cities and maybe ask if they service any of those other cities that are, I know there's differences of where you dispose, how many miles and service area, but be nice, our normal Malalas and Statons and cities that we always use for comparables, see how they cover any of those or.
Right, and I just had Susan double check that franchise contract just so we know when it expires or would need to be renewed, and that's coming up this fiscal year on February. So
Okay,
it's a good time to go into that anyways, as we consider a look on that contract,
great.
how it goes forward.
And yeah, again, I mean, if you could, the more you get, the great, but the basics, the most commons, the standard 35 gallon type of, residential. So
Exactly.
you can't get them all, you at least get some of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of different rates on those rate tables. So when I do the comparables, I like to do it with the most common service, by the other jurisdictions too.
Great.
So,
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Dave.
thank you.
Okay, we're now up to number 3, 2025 Community Enhancement Program allocations. We went through this last meeting and got most of it done, made a few additions and a change or two. And now Assistant City Manager and City Planner NJ Johnson will take the lead from here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Council. I don't have much for you because like the mayor mentioned, we have already been through most of this so far. We do have scores on all 16 applications from all 7 of you. So thank you to everyone who took the time to take a look at this and communicated with me how you were rating these applications. The tiers moved around a little bit in terms of like the percentages and what they were allocated. It actually paid a little bit more of a benefit to those middle scoring applications. So instead of like 45 and 35%, they're now receiving 50%, 45.36%, and 45%. So the middle applications are getting a little bit more, and then the top end applications are getting the same in this proposal. So I can answer any questions if you have them, but the allocations as they would be are in Exhibit A. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Quick one is where again does this money come from? This is just money we have budgeted into our budget,
Yes. This is
Yeah.
general
money
budget.
that we have budgeted. It's just general fund money. It's all general fund
The
money.
amount comes from a number, we raise it is CPI, I mean, is there a,
We raise it, I believe it's 1% per year is what Alex told me to do, so.
obviously, we'd love to be able to give more, but, this, I think is a great program and it's got the word out to get 16 applicants. I think that means a lot of people were communicating and getting out with these groups, which is great. We already did vote on the tier system.
Mhm.
So unless there's any real discussion or, changes, once we've added in a few and changed, we've agreed with that system. Does anybody have any question or problem with the dollars? And if not, we would accept a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Haugen,
I move the council approve the proposed allocation package based on the tier system for the 2025 Community Enhancement Program award allocations as presented in the staff report. And thank you, MJ.
motion by Counselor Haugen to approve the proposed allocation package based on the tier system. Any seconds? Second by Counselor LaFrenz. Any discussion? I would just add to, let's review how this year went from the changes and see if going forward, if you think anything needed to be adjusted. But appreciate NJ and Counselor Santiago has a question.
Yeah, I just want to, and I'm sure this is getting done. I just want to reiterate or put it on the record. NJ, you are going to be sending letters to all of whether they got their full allocation or not, and
Tomorrow morning.
encourage them to, for those who didn't get the money that they wanted, and they please, continue to apply. So,
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I will tomorrow morning.
And that we had a lot of good qualified candidates and it's tough decisions, but
It was.
appreciate it. And we will be able to do this again next year. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, NJ. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And now we're on to a lot of the budgetary items, fiscal year 25-26 budget. Tonight, we are here to hold a public hearing to determine if the city should elect to receive state shared revenues. Finance Administrator Carol Ulmer, if you could kind of explain what that means.
Yeah, every year we go through the same process. And, we're required by the state to certify that the city of Scappoose meets all the requirements to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 25-26. So, this gives us some rules and we certainly meet it with no problems. We have police, we've got street, we've got almost everything here. So, we certainly do qualify for it, but we have to state every year in a resolution that we do qualify and we will qualify this year to receive this state shared revenue. It's a substantial amount of money. It's probably close to $100,000 a year. So it's a lot. It's got it's more than that with our ODOT money, and there's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So,
Okay, so we have a public hearing. So I will open up the public, unless there's discussion first. Again, we're first looking to elect to receive the shared funds, and then we will vote on a resolution that we qualify for those funds. So I'll open up a public hearing.
2507 is that we qualify, and then 2508 is that we want to receive them.
And the first one is to hear the public hearing, whether we should receive them, whether we qualify. So seeing no public
Oh, that's
comments,
interesting. Okay.
I will close the
We're
public
backwards.
hearing and look for a motion to approve Is this a resolution or are we just approving to receive, electing to receive shared state funds?
This is just the public hearing piece of it. And then we move on to 2507, which is we meet the requirements, and 2508.
But do we
And
need
those
to,
are resolutions.
so I will look for a motion to elect to receive state shared revenues. It says approval on the agenda. Jeanette,
Right, yeah, the first one is just the public hearing and the next two actually they qualify and approve.
do I
They do
need
that
an
election.
approval at this point? On
Yeah,
this
we just
one
go through
too?
the resolutions after the public hearing's closed.
Okay, so I don't need to approve number 4. That was
Um,
the public hearing. Yes, Counselor Santiago.
I just have a quick question. So, I just have to ask, I mean, it's free money, I get it, but what do we have to give in return? Is there reporting? Is it, what are the, what do we get back? Is there anything that comes with a catch? Just
There's-
wondering.
There's really nothing that we have to do to get this, except for do these resolutions. We get the money put into our LGIP account every month or every 3 months, depending on what it is. But it includes all state shared revenues, including liquor tax, marijuana tax. I believe it even includes the ODOT stuff, anything that goes through the state. And it, then it
Okay.
comes to us. And we don't do anything except for get the money and use it. Use it wisely.
Okay, perfect.
So
Thank you.
there's no more discussion. I'm looking for a motion to resolution number 2507, a resolution certifying that the city of Scappoose meets all requirements to receive state shared revenues for fiscal year 25-26. Councilor Jacobs makes a motion to approve. Any seconds?
Second.
Second.
I'll
by
second.
Councilor
Oh, it just
Holmes.
doesn't matter.
You'll
Go
get the
ahead.
next one. Any
That's
more
okay.
discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that takes us number 6, a resolution number 2508, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenue for fiscal year 25-26 for the city of Scappoose. Do I have a motion to approve? Councilor Jacobs, any seconds?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now to the budget. We're looking at adopting our City of Scappoose budget 2025-26. For tonight, we are having a public hearing and a vote potentially on resolution number 2509, where we have to hold a public hearing on the proposed approval budget for fiscal year 25-26, making appropriations, imposing the tax, and categorizing the tax. Finance Administrator Carol Ulmer with the staff report.
Okay, yes, I do have a staff report. I did send this out. There's one change that I'll make you aware of. It's not a huge deal. I listed everything as you requested. Anything I changed, it changed from the proposed, which is what we had at the budget hearing, to the adopted budget. And I've got a couple that I just want to call out because they were numbers that changed. The big one that we had in the meeting was for the water, the roof on the water plant. That you guys approved to add an extra $200,000 to approve for the roof, to fix the roof. So I've got that in the adopted budget. And that did, of course, change. There are lots of pages here that changed. But of course, that changed all the numbers around everything. We did not increase the budget at all, because we took the money for the capital project and we reduced the contingency. So there was no dollar adjustment to the budget, but it did change the overall categorization. So it changed a lot of things in the budget. So there are lots of charts and stuff that changed. There was another one that Ben and I had talked about that, we determined that the urban renewal budget I had it listed as a transfer. The Urban Renewal Agency basically pays the city $50,000 a year, to, cover all the costs of us doing the bookwork for it, pretty much. And that had been done as a transfer, was originally written as a transfer. The state told me I can't do it as a transfer. It has to be done as an expense for the Urban Renewal Agency. So in order to do that, my transfers didn't balance. So I had to move that to revenue. And so I moved that to intergovernmental revenue, and that, changed a couple numbers in the general fund budget. So that did change. That increased the revenue in the general fund. It's basically a $0 check, but it went from transfer to revenue. So that made some more changes, in the budget. So that went in there. That did change. That was one of the big ones that changed. We had a correction, and this was my doing, where I had the SDC funds, we budget 5%, or we budget some money coming to the general fund for admin fees. And that is all in the individual funds budgets. I did not have all of that accounted for in the general fund as revenue. That increased the general fund revenue by $40,000, or $40,005. So, and $40,005. And that also increased the contingency. So it really is, that money is, even though it's technically revenue, it's revenue that we may or may not get, because SDC fees, if we don't get the fees, we're not going to pay the general fund that money. I know when I first came to this city, that was a transfer that was done every month, whether we got fees or not. And I came and I didn't believe that was proper use of SDC funds. And so I said, I'm not doing it. We don't have the money. It's not moving to the general fund. There's to be no admin fee if there wasn't any revenue. So I changed that a couple of years ago. So that is something that, we're going to have a lot of SDC fees. There's all the building we've got. We haven't in the last couple of years. SDC revenue has been pretty low this last couple of years. It's been real low. So that has changed. That's one, and that's on, on page 49. All the individual funds were correct. And so those don't change. There was one that looks, you can see on the sewer fund, we talked about at the meeting that we corrected the working capital carryover. That was something, it's on page 108, so it's at the very end. And that number, it looks like a big change, but it's the one that we determined in the meeting that the working capital, I would make the budget match the working capital carryover in contingency. So I did that and changed that. And there really is not much change. I did put totals on the transfer page, but that's really the changes that were made to the budget.
So in all, the overall budget changed, or the general fund increased by 40,005. However, that was just an increase to contingency, no added expense beyond.
Yeah,
just
correct. No,
putting that money over.
we did not increase. We didn't actually increase. I don't believe the only increase, expense increase we increased was the water treatment plant. That is the only expense increase. Everything else was on the revenue or contingency side.
So can I ask you, Ben, I guess, and Lori and Dave, feel this is a good budget and one we can work with over the year, and pretty gives us some money to do some stuff, but also in some contingency, but because we keep talking about looking at other funding sources going forward and down the road, but this year it's a good budget.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's very similar to last year's budget, other than it includes the projects that the council has, has been brought to the council and approved by the council to go forward, so we've included those into this budget. And some of those are contingent on, obviously, if we get grants or not. But, so it lays out that framework for what we need to do for this upcoming year, based off of the review and the approvals of the council and for regular operations. And as you had mentioned, we do have that in the books to look at potential really around the general fund, because there's been that deficit for many years. With a full budget, how do we get that short up a little bit? And so there are some different things, strategies we're going to look at. There are also some things in our budget and franchises and other things that we can actually look towards increasing that as well, as opposed to, there's quite a few of those. I won't be specific right now on those, but there are several different mechanisms we can use to really dig into that, and the council could probably do a hybrid of all of them. And in the meantime, we have a really good, healthy base on that gives us that ability to really dig in deep. It's not I'd say an emergency, but it's something we want to keep top of mind and act on quickly.
And it's, okay, Dave.
Yeah, just a quick update. Good evening, all. The utilities are actually looking quite good this year, in my opinion. We do know we have large capital projects going on and a lot of money going out, but we do have a plan in place for all of that. As you can tell by looking through there, the contingencies are solid. I will say that the strategy for paying back the loan, we're well aware of. We're going to be facing close to $1 million a year payment on that debt within the next year. So we're preparing for that. The contingency that's shown in wastewater will be partially used up for that. And then also urban renewal funds will be contributing to paying that loan back as well. So once again, we do have a plan in place. The only thing that's of concern to me is the parks. Parks is still lean and mean, as you all know, based on general fund availability. So we're crossing our fingers that we're successful in grants. Otherwise, we'll probably be status quo on the parks for a while. But all in all, Public Works is in a good position, I think. Oh, and then streets, we are excited. The fuel tax, we've been, got enough revenue now from that we're moving forward with the design of the sidewalk projects near the grade schools. So that's very exciting for us. So yeah, all in all, in a good position.
That'd be great. And all the ARPA projects are, some of them are finalizing, but everything there looks good, that will be done on time. We'll get the full funding and.
Yes.
Yeah,
All the projects are they're all in a good way. The basalt well, we're still working on the exploratory as we speak. The reservoir is slated for completion by the end of the year, early next. We anticipate seeing the tank start to go vertical over the next 6 months. And then come winter, we'll be finalizing it. And by next spring, we will have a brand new reservoir in place. The wastewater plant is a slow process. We've got another 1.5 years before phase 1 is complete, but they are making great progress. And if any of you would like to have a tour, please feel free to reach out and we'd love to have you down.
Great. I saw pictures in our newsletter. Look good. Councilor Santiago.
Just a quick question for Dave. And I'm sure you put this already in your radar because you mentioned parks, you're concerned about parks and all the updates that we need and the master plan that was developed. And then we recently graciously received donated land that we're also going to be putting some money into it. So what's your thoughts and concerns on that?
On the new property? Or
on the new property, yeah. Because we also have Grabhorn. So I would like to just get an update on overall your thoughts, because it seems like you're concerned on the Parks and Rec side.
I'm concerned, but not. It's just not a large amount of money that can be contributed every year. In the parks budget, there is money identified to meet the requirements from the Meisners of a fence and some minor amenities that were conditioned up front. We did speak very candidly with them and told them that this would be a slow process, that money was limited. They were very comfortable with that as long as the property never got sold out from under, this agreement or anything. So they know that it's going to take a little while for that to be developed. So that was not an overly large concern from any of the parties. We still feel this is a very gracious contribution by the Meisner family to the city and didn't want to lose that opportunity. And once again, come fall, we'll get the outcome of those two grants, the ADA playground and the grab horn. And then depending on the outcome of that, we're going to have to sit and talk. Even with a full award of $1 million, we're going to be cutting it very close to build the grab horn park. And so when those numbers do come in, when it goes out to bid, if the contract bids come back more, then we may have to talk about some minor debt to capitalize on that grant. But it's preliminary at this point. So it's stuff that we're wrapping our head around and prepared to have those discussions. But until you have some facts, it's hard to know.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask. If we did even get the full $1 million for grab horn, we then have to get together and decide, if it's $2 million to build, how are we gonna come up with the other $1 million? If it's, how much time on a grant like that do you usually have to use it up?
They're usually pretty reasonable. Most grants from the state, I see like a 2-year turnover. Depending
That's
on
what I
the
was going to
size
say.
of it.
I think this one's got about a 2-year window for construction.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. I mean, if they come with money, then we'll get together and decide what we want to build and how we're gonna fund it.
Right, and sometimes it is a waiting game. We get our first grant in there and they decline it. But we get feedback from them of how we could improve our application and it comes back. For example, I still get emails from Stanfield. I just got one a month ago about a grant that I applied for several years ago, got the feedback. We adjusted that application. I wasn't there when they put the new application in, but all the work that we had done for that, the grant writer wrote me, he's like, hey, just wanted to let you know this actually came through. And they got it the second time. So, a lot of times with grants, it is a repetitive process. You don't get them all. But every no is that much closer to a yes because you find out what they're looking for. So sometimes we have to wait on some of those, or the discussion comes, do we just want to go at it right now regardless?
Councilor Santiago?
Yeah, just because we're talking on the topic of raising money and what we're looking at, and Ben mentioned that there's some ideas. I think we should really, I recommend or suggest that we should look, for example, if there is enough money for parks or grab horn, to kind of go for the project of what we need the money for. Not just say, oh, we need to increase or make some more money. It's more like it be with tackled on with a project. So then when we do propose this or we share this information with our residents, that they can see it. They'll know what we need the money for, and it'll be easier to communicate with them on that, and maybe get their support on these increases of fees or whatever it may be, but they know what it's for.
Yeah, we
that
need to
make
make
sense?
sure
Okay.
we got to get the message out very clearly what it's for and justified it. I don't want to do it if I don't believe in it and think it's justified, and our citizens won't either. So we have to do a really good job of getting the message out, and make sure it is worthwhile and justified. Any more questions on the budget? Appreciate all this, Carol, all the information. If there's more discussion, I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2509. Public hearing. I now have a public hearing. Thank you, Joel. Opening a public hearing for the public to discuss or ask questions about the budget. Okay, we have opened and now we will close our public hearing. And if there is no more further discussion, looking for a motion to approve the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-09, adopting the city of Scappoose budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy, and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 310.0602 for fiscal year 25-26.
Page was that on? Sorry, Jeanette. Dave. Red 27. I have a motion by Counselor Holmes to adopt resolution number 2509, adopting City of Scappoose budget, making appropriations, declaring the ad valorem tax levy and classifying the levy as provided by ORS 3.310.060-2 for fiscal year 25-26. Any seconds? Second by Counselor Jacobs. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. And separately, just resolution now 25-10. It's a resolution establishing all fees and charges for the city of Scappoose and rescinding resolution number 24-13 for the 25-26 fee resolution. City Manager Ben Bergener will take the staff on report on this.
Right, as we mentioned before, this is done every year with any proposed changes to the resolutions we have. The department heads, typically Public Works and planning, with their suggested changes in there, usually around CPI or needed adjustments to stay up with our costs. So we have this as proposed. It is provided in your packet, and really just if there's any questions, like I say, we have the departments we can answer for their respective departments. Yeah, any questions you may have on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Holmes?
I do have a question. Not that this is a change being reflected this year from the previous year, but I am curious about some of the fee rates for the different business types. So for example, a bookstore would carry a suggested fee of $40,000, where a discount home furnishing store would be like $4,000. Why the significant discrepancy in the fees based on business activity in some of these categories?
Are you talking about system development charges for transportation?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so that all comes out of what's called the ITE code. It's it's basically a transportation study that these studies are done across the country, and it establishes trips based on the use, the land use. So for instance, like a daycare will have one of the highest rates, right? Because there's a lot of trips each day. It's in the morning, it's in the evening. Fast food, one of the highest. So it assesses fees based on how many trips that type of business would be expected to have. Those are all, they're all slightly different, but a lot of times it's based on the per thousand gross square feet. And so at the time that a new structure is built, we do require a traffic study. Their traffic engineer will decide what ITE code that fits under, and then we reference our chart to see what the transportation SDC will be. And so we collect those fees then when building permits are issued, and that goes into our transportation SDC fund, which helps fund capacity improvements. And those capacity improvements are the projects listed in our capital improvement plan, basically. So it is tied to how many trips we expect those businesses will put on our transportation system.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
and that was,
helpful to know.
yeah, that was last updated in 2017, our SDC rates for transportation. So I am applying for a grant to update our TSP. And at that point, once we update that list, we would relook at our SDC methodology for transportation.
Okay. Yeah, just because if there's any discretion here, I guess it's something we may want to think about in the future to lower some fees for the types of businesses we'd like to attract. For example, if you look on page 190 or 169, opening up a bagel shop is like twice as expensive as, say maybe, some other type of retail location.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and there's there definitely is the ability for council to, if there is a type of business you're wanting to incentivize or to help out, like daycare, for instance, childcare. But that's definitely something to look at in the future. Right now, this is just This really is just looking at the CPI index and taking into account that increase.
Thank you
Like
for
you
that.
said, you're applying for a grant, so that would be a good opportunity to look at some of those if we get.
Yeah, so what we do is we would update the TSP. That would create a new capital improvement list of the transportation projects that need to happen to meet our 20-year planning horizon. And then based on those projects, whichever makes the financially constrained list are the ones we're going to collect SDCs for to try and get those projects done. It's at that point that you have that new list that you're going to then review your transportation SDCs again.
And I'm sure, Ben, you're looking at all of our, like we had Parks Master Plan, I mean, all of the plans that we have and the ones that are old and need maybe review. Keep our eye on those and review them.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, for example, we're also looking at our wastewater
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
That's something pretty soon because
There
it's
was a
been quite a while
50-year
on that
plan
one
and
too.
everything. Councilor Santiago?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just was wondering, Lori, and this is probably not your department, but I don't know if you get these requests. So when the business does come in and, Councilor Holmes and, I was also looking at this, I'm like, it was confusing for me. And I do this, I do support businesses for a living, but for a business that they're already overwhelmed with everything else that's going on, how are we helping them? I guess you can tell them that, but I'm sure at one point their eyes roll back and they just, they not stop listening. But is there a simple way, or is there a way that that we are approaching our businesses when they're opening a business and try to have them walk them through them and make them understand of all of these fees and what they would qualify for if you are in-home business versus a retail, and why these fees. My question to that too with the grant, is that something that we can attach the grant so we can be able to create a packet that would be very easy or something to follow for businesses that are coming to Scappoose to follow easily and understand, follow
Sure.
the fees that they need?
Yeah, so let's see. So for your first question, so this would only apply to a new business building a new structure. Or if they're adding on to the structure and they're going to create additional trips as a result of that, then they would be assessed some incremental more amount based on their PM peak hour trips. But we do let them know during like their pre-app meeting and their inquiry meeting before they even get started. We do have a worksheet that they can fill out with their traffic engineer, with their engineer consultant to come up with what their SDC fees will be so that they know that that's part of their construction cost. Because that's something, like I said, we collect when we issue their building permit. Provided they've done, development in the past, this is not a new concept. This is something most cities in Oregon do collect. So it's not unheard of or anything like that. So provided they have a good consultant team, this definitely is something they've been told about and they should be expecting. In terms of the grant or putting together some information that's helpful, we do already have some materials on our website. We have a kind of it's not a one pager, but it's several pages long, but it kind of has an outline of going through the development process, what to expect, different stages of development essentially. And then the city is working with CET and Sierra, who I believe has done a presentation for you. We are breaking off into smaller groups where we are looking at, going to be with NJ in the regulatory group, where we're going to kind of brainstorm with our peers across other jurisdictions to try and find out how we can put together more of a one sheet that's really easy to understand so that it walks folks through what to expect during the development process. just to make it a little easier for people to understand, because if you haven't gone through the land use process, it can be onerous. I mean, it's a lot to get through. So wanting to make sure we're upholding our standards, so we're getting built, you know, the things that we've all agreed to that's in the development code, but also making it easier for people to navigate that process and understand.
Great, thank you. And are those, in those conversations, are you guys talking about also providing the information in different languages or making it accessible in different language?
That's a great question. I don't know that that's come up yet, but I love that concept. So I'll definitely share that back out as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does an SDC, I mean, if it's already an established building and you're just moving into it, you don't pay?
Not unless you're somehow
Improving.
increasing your use of that utility, right? So if you're doing an addition that's adding, say, 1,000 square feet, and because of that, you're going to have more trips for transportation, or you need a larger water meter or something like that, then yeah, you would pay that difference.
And typically, are these completely arbitrary that, I mean, a supermarket versus a store that's open 16 hours? Is that, where did we start those
This-
numbers years ago?
Yeah, no, this is straight out of that manual, the ITE manual. Sorry, I can't remember what the acronym stands for right this second, but it's essentially based on actual traffic studies at these different types of businesses where they did a count of, basically, it's based on PM peak hour trips. And then each of those trips gets associated a cost. And then that gets translated into our transportation SDCs. So it is based on actual traffic studies at different businesses across the US. Our development code also does give people the option to do a one-off traffic study. Like, for instance, Wana Credit Union, they're like, look, we have a different kind of a model. They're using part of the building as their sort of remote teller operations. So even though, you know, there's a couple different ways they could assess their SDCs based on how many drive-through, you know, driveways they have, couple different options, but we worked with them to figure out what made the most sense there, because some of that, they weren't going to have a bunch of trips in. There's just people sitting in an office. They show up once a day. They answer calls from the region. So we definitely work with folks to make sure we're choosing the most applicable and realistic way to apply those SDCs. So where it might have said, you know, per 1,000 square feet, we went through and looked at that, and maybe we choose a different ITE method where it's just looking at the lanes of drive-through traffic or tellers. So there's some flexibility there, but we try and make it actual ground proof it so it's realistic.
And per unit, is that like per building or per unit? And each unit is a amount of square feet?
It could each be slightly different. I'd have to look at which one, but typically it's per 1,000 square feet for that use, that type of business.
So something here, yeah, it's per unit. So if they're bigger, it could be 4 units. The
Yeah.
SDCs could be, if it's. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Howard.
I'm curious on the rationale for increasing the business license from 55 to 70.
It's a great question. I'll answer that, Susan, for you.
That's okay, you can do it.
Yeah, so we haven't raised that rate for over 10 years. It's been 55 since 2000, or 20 years.
No, hold it for a second, because for a long time, there was no business license fee.
Right, so in 2000, it was 45, 2004 is 55. Then the city exempted business licenses from 2010 to 24, reinstated the 55, which is what the same was in 2004. So that's what I was saying. It really staying the same with what we did 20 years ago. The biggest rationale is we wanted to streamline the process. So we're working with a third-party company that can make it digital, make it easier for the business owners to apply and to renew their licenses. Right now we have a very manual process. And the cost per business license to use that service was $15. So it actually is a direct match of where that increase came from. But beyond that, like I say, it's also been kind of that standard rate for quite a while too.
Well, my notion here is that we're trying to encourage economic development. And so anytime, even though it's a small amount, $15 is a small amount, it still sends a message, are we really encouraging small businesses and special sole proprietors? So what I would suggest, if you're gonna raise it or either keep it the same or have an amendment so where that for the first 5 years of business, you don't pay a business license fee. And just some kind of encouraging mechanism to, it's not a significant amount of revenue we're going to be losing. And I think just in terms of economic development, that's a prudent thing to do.
Can you have them pay 5 years up front at $50 a year and pay $250 and that covers them for 5 years? I mean, is there
They might not
Now-
be in business for 5 years.
but they're hoping to, they're expecting to, so they invest in themselves. But you're right, if they're gone, they're gone, but it's giving them a,
Well,
you know,
for
the
example,
next 4 years, they don't have to worry.
90% of small businesses that start up are going to fail. And so you want to encourage that. And so anything we can do to encourage small business development, I think is a positive.
what are they getting for this business license? What work goes into it each year when they apply? There's a cost involved on our end, right? We do legwork, paperwork, we
Right.
follow, make sure they're better business, that they're doing what they're saying they are and
Right.
protecting the businesses.
Correct. Yeah. So these currently Susan handles all of those, has been doing that. And it is, I was able to witness the process this year as she went through. It's a very arduous process, very manual, having to check pretty much every single business license coming, even the renewals. Part of that is that's the base fee, but there are businesses that have grown or have different employees. And so the way that our current business license structure is also is dependent on how that company is structured. So if they've changed, she has to review that to see if there's any additions or changes to their base fee. So currently, and then she has to retype of it, edit these. We had some templates, but she has to go into every single one and change them. So it's a very monotonous, very
I'd say
manual
too, it
process.
also passes through the planner, the chief of
Right.
police, the building official. Right, so this circles through, it comes to planning first to make sure that the zone works for the use that they have. We'll catch a lot of things sometimes where like, oh, you didn't sign a lease yet, did you? Because you have to go to planning commission to get approval. So there's a lot of checks and balances and to make sure that, the business where they're locating works for their use. We have to collect any
And
additional
we do
fees.
update, keep contact, so if there's a police problem, we've got contacts.
It's also,
You know,
And this is annual.
annual.
and
Right.
So if there are no changes,
Yeah.
it shouldn't quite take as long to go through it. There may be, like you said,
But
maybe
there are changes that happen.
if there are changes, then it's the same. I mean, maybe there is a discount for no changes.
I hear what Mr. Counselor Haugen is saying. I get it. The flip side though too is given if this is such a manual process and we have a way to or digitize and there's a cost associated with it. I don't think we're in a position to absorb that cost. We need the business to absorb that cost. I think it's fair that we do charge businesses a fee for a business license. I don't see why we should be the exception. Given where we're at financially and where we need to go and where we want to go. But I mean, yeah, it's an increase. And everything's an increase this year, next year, the next several years, we're all going to be paying more.
And I hear both, and we kind of voted to be kind of in that middle of the road to recoup some of our costs. Not we do want to attract businesses and be business friendly, but we have to cover some of our expenses and costs. We haven't said 100% recovery. We haven't said open door, and we're kind of in that middle of the road.
Now I'm going to abstain because I have a business license in Scapa, so I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Okay.
But I'm still going to express an opinion
Sure.
that if you're trying to encourage economic development, especially small proprietors like me,
Yeah.
you don't want to, this is just sending the wrong message. It's not a significant amount of money. We're talking, maybe it affects maybe 20 businesses.
Yeah.
And so 20 times $15, what is that? I mean,
Right.
it's not a significant amount of money.
But if we can digitize and then free up capacity within our staff to focus on more high-value work, then what is a very manual process that has to pass through multiple departments, I think the cost is worth passing on so that we can be more efficient.
Well, yeah, I'm all for efficiency, but so it's a teeter-totter
Well,
balance.
maybe by digitizing too, we will be able to find some savings somewhere to where we can pass it on. If it does end up not taking near as long for everybody to do stuff because it's all automated, then maybe we don't.
And again, I'm going to abstain, but I'm just not giving. that-
Counselor Santiago?
Thank you, Mayor. So I agree. I can see both sides. Obviously, we need to cover our cost. We're not in that position to be giving away money, but at the same, I do see also, I'm a huge supporter of small businesses and startups. Is there, and I thought I heard, okay, there's an initial cost, right? So the first year that they pay the fee. Now, the second year would be a renewal. If it's simple renewal from that third party charge, there's a $15 charge. So why don't we just create, it'd be just upgrade, putting the cost on the business for the $15 instead of again charging them the whole amount just for the first three years or so. I'm thinking that that's huge for them, and because right now businesses as it is, they're having a hard time. Things are just going to get a little bit rougher right now. I also would like to, as a business owner, when you pay something, you want to see something in value. So if we do decide to fully just keep charging the business the rate every year, what is that value that we're providing? So if we're going to ask for money, and I understand that we need to cover our costs, but as renewal, we also have to show what that value is.
It's going to be easier for them to, it'll be easier for them to fill out their applications and quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, for example, value meaning what do they see how their money is going to be used? What programs, what can the city provide? Is there something online that we were able to, in our last meeting, I suggested to add into our app in the business section. So be for businesses, how to apply, how to renew, how to resources, things like that. Just little values that we're already paying money for, just adding value.
Absolutely.
And
And
this
with
is
business
something-
license specifically, Jeanette, I would say that the value goes on both sides, not just for the businesses, but it's also for the residents. A lot of people in the community really want to know that their businesses are real businesses. And they like that security, knowing it's come through and gone through a vetting process, that it's not just some fly by night. Typically you find that with the door-to-door salesmen or different things like that. People want to know, were these background checks done or were other things done? So the value is not just for the business, which in this case, it's gonna be an easier process for them. It's gonna save them time and money as well. But it's also for the whole value is not just for businesses in this process. It is for the residents as well.
Yeah, can we have a sheet made up explaining
Right.
what the business fee is? I'm sure they see it, what it is for, what they're getting for their money, what $70 goes towards, not just the cost of doing it, but it is protecting
Right,
others as
exactly.
well.
Correct.
And we didn't raise all of them. There's a lot of them that did not get raised.
Right, this is just the base fee
Yeah.
for the application process. Everything else stayed the.
Well, I would maybe look at I'm fine with this, but maybe we do look at something to help the new business in the second or third year to get them through, or see if somebody's interested in learning more as we go, but.
Right, and those are some things, we want to look at the actual ordinance of the business license, how it's structured, and that could be some potential changes in structure. Are our renewal is going to be cheaper because with this online process, it's just like that.
Yeah.
Currently, it's almost the same process because she's manually reviewing everything. If it speeds up that, these are all things that we can look back and say, hey, here's some cost savings because we've been able to streamline this process. Or those ones just don't get raised, all the other ones do in the future, depending on.
Yeah, if it's all automated and they just, here's your last year and it automatically changes your date, your number of employees, everything stays the same. They can just submit it and it just says no changes, maybe look at.
Right, so we're working through it. It is a new system. It was recommended by some other cities. So, I mean, we haven't gone through it yet. So hopefully that's what we're hoping for, is to really be able to make it better for everybody and save the city and the residents and everybody time and money and be more efficient.
Any more discussion? If not, I'm looking at the resolution number 25-10, resolution establishing all fees and charges for the city of Scappoose, rescinding resolution 2413.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
Counselor Jacobs makes a motion to approve. First, I'm going to open a public hearing to make sure there's anybody online, anybody else in the public that would like to make a comment. Hearing none, seeing none, I will close public hearing and I will entertain Counselor Jacobs' motion to approve resolution 25-10. Any second?
Second.
Counselor Holmes makes a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And Joel abstains.
Yep.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I do appreciate all of you guys being fiscally, we're always going to ask the question, what can we do to help our citizens make sure it's warranted and justified? And even though we voted, I want to be able to keep looking to see if it works, see if we can help out down the road, make sure it is still doing what it's supposed to. So I appreciate all that.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
I do have something
Well,
to add.
Jeanette?
I'm
Let
sorry.
Susan, she had a comment real quick.
Sure.
I just want to say, I know it is $15 more, but we do try and go above and beyond. For example, tonight I issued a home occupation. They've been waiting for it. I drove it and delivered it to their house. And I've done that before with other businesses, like taking their applications to them, different things. So we do try and accommodate our businesses. So just wanted to
Yeah.
say that.
I think it helped just me knowing what actually goes into it and the amount of time it takes and what the protections are and why we actually do it. And again, we haven't done, there was several years, there was nothing being collected. And when they started, they went back to those 20-year ago times. Again, if we look at it, we could look at what other cities are charging to find out if we're similar to other cities of like size and business. Yeah, that would be interesting I'm sure we don't have to invent the wheel. Everyone's doing it, see what others are charging to make sure we're in line. Counselor
Right.
Santiago?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask our council as a whole, obviously I can't decide this on my own, but being that I'm the liaison for the EDC committee, is that something that we can, the committee can brainstorm on different ideas and then the committee brings it to the council? Or is everyone, you guys
can
are
ask
really
Ben to
tiny,
see if
obviously.
there's things there that he could find that the EDC could help with as we move forward. I don't know if it's fees or charges, but
All right, I guess the main
But-
question would be, would that take the precedence over our current goals right now, or is that on our list of things to get to? I mean, so we have not just the goal 1, 2, 3, and 4, but all the things, the subset of those goals that we're working on, that all take time and staff money as well. The budget, I mean, these things are great, and I think we want to notate them. Is that the priority of the EDC over their current objectives right now, as well as for staff? These are all good questions. And I do think they do fit into some of our goals. I mean, we're talking about having economic development. So is this the time, as Lori's going through her, she's getting that grant, and if she gets that grant for the downtown plan, and, do these things roll into that conversation? I think there are a lot of these can roll together as part of our current goals.
and as sustainable finances, if there's things that the
Right.
EDC could help with the finances, it is something to possibly look at. But
Okay,
I
I
would try
just
to
want to make
look around the
sure
goal.
that, yeah, I just want to make sure that there isn't multiple conversations going on. Like we're having a conversation, EDC is having a conversation, staff. I want to make sure that we are all talking the same thing and supporting small businesses. And if I can't just say, hey, why don't you, this is what we talked about at council, why don't you give us some ideas? That's why I'm bringing it forth all here. So if we all decide, I can suggest it in a coming meeting that's next week, or do you suggest, Mayor and Council, that we should just take it on the side and talk to the city manager, and then have him direct the committee? So, but I thought we directed the committees.
Shouldn't the committee I thought EDC, this is Counselor Jacobs, don't they currently have a set of goals that they're working on?
Right.
Shouldn't they just stay
Yeah,
focused
it's
on what they're
supporting,
working
yeah.
on right now? So
It's
given the
very
history
general.
with them,
Yeah, they're general goals. It's not very specific. So from the
We-
last one that
we
I've
could-
heard.
I mean, I think it could be a further discussion, as we move forward. We could discuss it and talk about it and see. I'm not sure exactly where they are on their goals and what they're focusing on, but I'd be happy to discuss and see if there's things on this side that the EDC could help with.
Okay. That's what I want
For
to
the
know.
next 2
Thank
weeks,
you.
so.
Right, Councilor Santiago, I guess my comment was not that they can or they cannot, or the council shouldn't direct them or not. Is that the priority right now? I mean, I know we're talking about this today, and it's kind of a topic because we're doing the free resolution. But in order of importance of things we're working on, it's on that list. But is that something the council, and that's the question for direction for me or for the council, for the EDC, is that the order of priority at this time, or is it just on the list? We want to get the other things done first, or is that something to have as part of the conversation as we're working through everything else? I don't have
Well,
an
I
answer to
think
that.
it's
Those are just the questions I'm asking.
important. I mean, I think it's important that everything is important, and I don't know exactly what the list you're working off, or that you referring to. I mean, I'm assuming you guys have things that you're working on, but I don't have that list in front of me. But I'm sure supporting businesses, economic development, we have it in our goals. That's, for me, it seems like it's a priority as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that answers your question.
I do think that we are working towards that, but along with it, there are fees involved, and I think we need to kind of get out ahead of it now instead of waiting till these come. Now we know, we put on our list to look as we move forward and for next year, or how can we look at helping small businesses, but put it on the list below, get through the things they're working on, and then that'll kind of be the next thing up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Today is June 16th. Up to my calendar. City offices are closed on June 19th. Again, farmers market every Saturday in June and July, 9 to 2. EDC meeting is the 26th at noon. Potential planning commission, 7 p.m. 26th into July. City offices are closed on the 4th. No council meeting on July 7th. Planning Commission on July 10th at 7 p.m. EDC meeting July 17th at noon. Council work session at 6 p.m. on July 21st, followed by council session at 7 p.m. Another Planning Commission scheduled for July 24th at 7 p.m. City manager update.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Backus. To add to that calendar, OCCMA conference, I will be gone at that conference July 7th through 11th, just for the council's awareness. I did have a great opportunity to go visit the OMIC, not the PCC OMIC, I've done that before, but the actual OMIC Center. Met with John there, their marketing director, and had a really good conversation with them, how they're working with the community, how they're working with businesses, and what kind of their, how do they really support businesses and how they work, which was a really good, number one, it's a phenomenal, and I know you guys have all at least heard that. I don't know if you've all had an opportunity to go do a tour of it, but they have a great attraction for industrial uses and innovation, really focusing on what they call the additives, which is like 3D printing of different types of not just the typical 3D printer, but, they have titanium and steel and other things that they're working on these huge things. But no, it was really good. And to continue to build that partnership and see how I can connect with them and to work with them and businesses to attract more business here as well. A follow-up from last meeting about the charging stations, still working on some information on that. The contract does state it has to be, and we mentioned that last time, it needs to be open 24/7. So we don't get to dictate hours on there. Worked with the Public Works and the chief that we kind of went through and did a walkthrough to see what we could do, gave out some cards of emergency, non-emergency lines for their neighbors to, if there is noise nuisance, that they can tackle that right away, because that is something we can do. They just need to report it. For the lights, we're still trying to figure that out preliminarily. Some signage is as much as we can really. I mean, there's no law against having lights on in a right of way. Obviously, it does cause nuisance to that business owner or the resident there. So we're trying to figure out how best we're working with, reaching out to Tesla to see if they'll help fund some type of, or what type of capacity they have where they've done other places. But it's still work in progress. Just want to let you know we're working on that. Any questions about that?
Yeah,
Or
I
anything that's
noticed they
coming up?
always back in, but can Tesla's park forward in? I mean, it's on the wrong side and you need to be backed in?
Yeah, we actually we had some Teslas that used it while we were there, some Tesla owners, and because I don't own a Tesla, so we just went and asked them, like, how do these other charging stations work? Do they have, because these cords are so short, like, is that how they are everywhere? And I guess that is the standard. They don't even look. Any Tesla owner that comes up, they know they have to back in. That is the standard for Tesla. Interesting design, but seems like something we can hopefully see if they can solve. But even still, the standard, even if we got longer cords or cables, the regular owner is probably going to back up, not knowing if we had longer cords or not. So we're working. Yeah, a great question. We looked at that. Like I said, we did actually target some owners that asked questions in person to help us better understand, and got some feedback about their opinion of the situation. And so it was trying to get both sides of the story, obviously, and stay neutral on there to get some feedback. Any other questions about? Okay. The last one was just the council may have seen some League of Oregon City notices from the Oregon Ethics Commission about meals during meetings, committee meetings, staff things. So it didn't have time to get a resolution in place, but it is a little bit of a process to get it in place. We will be bringing that in July. Just for your awareness, if you hadn't seen those, the Oregon Ethics Commission had triggered, unless you have a policy in place, that you should not be applying those because it's considered compensation of some type, even though it may not be taxable compensation. They had interpreted pretty strictly that even a little business luncheon, you have to have a policy. Otherwise, we're violating it. There's a potential violation of ethics per their most recent ruling. So that is something that cities have had to scale back until they get a policy in place. That includes for the council, that includes for the staff. So there's going to be probably 3 separate resolutions, according to our attorney, where the council has to, and I'll get more specifics on this. It sounds like you have to vote half and half for each resolution because it also is compensation for yourself. So you have to not vote on your own. I don't know. It started sounding complicated. So I didn't have time to get just one resolution because like 3 of them that I have to put together for this. So working with our attorney to make sure it
I've got a
fits.
question on that.
Yeah.
I hope you keep track of the time this kind of crap takes place. And not only that, but the legal cost. And so to make the League of Oregon Cities realize what kind of baloney this is,
The League of Oregon Cities was really opposed to
Right.
this. They're working hard on.
But
everybody's
our
back.
legislators
It's
should
the-
be aware
It was
of
the Oregon
this kind of
Ethics
stuff.
Commission that.
Right.
did this.
There's a very strict reading of,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's beyond AR,
So
Yeah.
it means we can't do a retirement party for Daryl, without us paying for it personally.
we're gonna do a potluck of some type. Right. We'll
I
figure,
know, I'm gonna help
we'll
you.
figure it out.
I'm buying the
What's
cake,
this
so.
about?
Sorry.
What?
Another notice for the council, haven't gotten to that yet, but Daryl announced his retirement. So that will be the end of the month. He is, we're looking at some arrangements where he'll help with some transition through the end of the year, but his official retirement would be the end of June. So
Sorry about that.
broke the news on that, but
Didn't know.
yeah, that was recently announced, and we're excited for him and his opportunity to do what we all look forward to someday. But
Well, for Dave.
yeah, so yeah, we're
Do you have is there someone in line to move into, or is this kind of backfill, like to go out?
no, we have different options we're actually looking at.
Okay.
Potential, we have several different options. One of them being restructuring, but we have internal candidates that could as well. But we do feel that there would be, well, nothing's been announced yet, so I'll
Sure.
keep it. We're looking at different options.
I think we're in a good place. That it? We always come back to you.
Oh, yeah, for me, yes. Sorry, any more questions on that, the mills? So that's all the updates for me. Yes. Oh, not announcement or anything, but just once again, Dave, NJ, Lori, Carol, Susan, everybody who is involved, the council, the committee, really appreciate all the time and energy put into the budget. It is a long process. And Carol, I know I work with her, the amount of detail she has to go to change every single number when one thing changes in this huge packet, it is a lot of work. Just behind the scenes, knowing what they do and what they put into that. So thank you, Carol, for all the work you do for that. Obviously on the extremely clerical side on there and the finance side, but for all my staff.
Thank him. I have to thank Ben because he caught things that my old eyes don't see very well between 8s and 6s, right? So,
Well, we'll give you the rest of the night off. You can start tomorrow on next year's
Okay.
budget.
Anyways, thank you, staff and
Thank you.
council.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Police Sergeant Larson.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, Mayor. With chief out, so staffing levels, the hiring process is on hold until back. Candidates there in the background just going to stay status quo for returns. A side note on the EVs, on the Tesla, when the driver's door opens, the lights go off unless somebody overrides the settings. So even though it's backed in, the lights are supposed to go off unless they override the settings. That'd be an annual thing. We have been aware of it and driving by quite often. I've got the CVE, their headlights on at all. I don't know if it was a one-off or a week-long thing or what the deal is. So, but everything else is going well.
Thank you for the report back here at St. Chief. A lot of good information. I did notice we had, it looked like in May of this year, 36 violations versus 7 last year. Is that with code enforcement probably out there more now than they have been? So other than that, everything is pretty similar to where it has been. And
Yeah, McFarland's doing a good job. He's actually creating a nice flow chart. He's working with the courts and stuff. Just, I know there's codes in place, but it's how do you enforce it at the same time? And so his numbers are going through the roof, and I think it's going to reflect very quick.
that's where I think we've been trying to be good about communication, education. We're not out there to collect a lot of fees if we can just work with people to meet our codes.
That's part of the flow chart. It's like make a contact first, do a follow up, and then it's like it's not just drop.
Councilor Santiago, if you're ready, you can.
Yeah,
comment.
well, yeah, I just wanted to, oh, thanks. No,
No,
I
no.
was asking Chief, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't hear Chief quite clearly. Did he mention the new recruits and
Yeah,
where the
Chief.
status?
Chief is out of town, and so Sergeant
Oh.
Larson's in filling in, and right now the new recruits, this is on hold until Chief comes back in.
I see. Okay. That's what I wanted
Correct.
to ask. I didn't
And
hear
I wouldn't
that.
say I wouldn't say they're completely on hold. They're just through the background process, but any of them that have finished that, they need to wait till chief gets back before they move to that next step.
Would that put us in full staff?
If all 4 of them pass background again, and yes, we would be at full staff.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you. Counselor Haugen.
Last Monday's school board meeting, we had a number of retirements that are significant, so there's some big shoes to fill there. And then in terms of the youth council we've been talking about, yeah, a nice segue might be to kind of follow what the school district did by they appointed their student representative to the school board for the coming school year, a young August young fellow by the name of Jack Hagan. And I talked with him after the meeting. I said, yeah, it'd be kind of a lot of nice consistency to, if he's willing to appoint him also and make this kind of an annual thing. So whoever gets appointed to the school board as a student representative, they become a representative to the city council as well. That would be kind of a nice first step here for the school council. And so I highly recommend that we approach him, and he seemed amenable to it. And so if we want to pursue that, I'd try to get that done this summer sometime.
Yeah, there's definitely options. Even though like Robbie had mentioned too, in their J term, he has to teach every year some J term classes in city council, city management. There's things he could be willing to teach too that might open that door and get him involved.
Yeah, we can configure it any way we
It's
like.
only a 3-week period in just January and May,
But anyway, if this Jack Hagan is amenable to this, I think that would be a nice first step. Get that done this summer.
Great. Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Counselor Jacobs.
So just following along with you, Counselor Haugen, and you may already know this, I just recently learned that there are tools that LOC have to help communities put together, like to structure a school council.
Yeah.
In partnership. So you're probably aware of those materials.
Yeah.
Awesome. I figured you would when I heard about it. I thought about you.
No, I need it.
In terms of any updates, I have none. I wish everybody a wonderful rest of the week, and thank you all for your work.
4th of July. Counselor Holmes.
Yeah, in reading through the staff report, the Community Development Center, I realized I was remiss in giving an update on the last 50-year plan meeting that was held May 20th. So big congratulations to all the staff that put countless hours and tireless amounts of time into this 3-year process, if not more, perhaps 5. But it will culminate. It will be coming before City Council. We'll have a work session, and what we'll be tasked with looking at is some change in land use and zoning for some of the land that we'll be looking to annex into the urban growth boundary. So that will come to us on August 18th, it looks like. And then also thank you for being so responsive when community members come in and share their thoughts and concerns. I think most of the time people want to be heard. And so I think it's great that we can be responsive and follow up with some meaningful answers. So thank you for prioritizing that. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Counselor Santiago.
Thank you.
She never
First,
did.
I want to say thank you to staff for working on the budget. It looked like it was a lot of work, and so I appreciate that. I wanted to address 3. I mean, there's many, but 3 right now critical issues that are facing our nation, and that's also impacting our community here in Scappoose. First, this government and administration is dehumanizing people, especially people of color, who are, and people who just disagree with their tactics. And when leadership strips away people's humanity, and just talks about these rhetorics and policies, it creates fear in our communities and our neighborhoods. So these members hesitate to use essential city services and also engage in civil activities. And beyond these policies, it's about respect. It's about respecting people, respecting humans as with humanity, and of course all of our residents. Second, I want to, that we can't ignore the escalation of political violence. This weekend in Minnesota, I'm sure you guys all heard, sadly, there was assassination of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the shooting of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. So these were targeted attacks at elected officials, and these people were in their homes. And the person that shot them, killed them, he portrayed as a police officer. So this is like for people, you're like, oh, you feel safe. A police officer shows up in front of your door, and then you're causes your death. So this is what happens when we dehumanize and use these rhetoric meets of political extremism, I say. And my condolences to all the families of the people that were hurt. Third, I want to share something was very inspiring that I saw on Saturday, June 14th. Millions of Americans and over 2,000 simultaneous events nationwide and even international participated in a peaceful protest in No King's Day. This movement was very inspirational and demonstrates that all Americans across the nation that we believe that no one's above the law, especially no presidents. So democracy prevails when millions stand up and against those who try to undermine it. Here in Scappoose, we have a choice. We can either let the climate of hostility take root, or we can actively counter it. Political violence has no place in our democracy and has no place in our city. So our decisions impact people's lives. Every vote we cast either fosters a safe, inclusive community or it doesn't. Let's ensure Scappoose is a place where we or everyone can fully feel safe and welcome, regardless of their background, undocumented status, or beliefs. Thank you, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you, Counselor. I'll go real quick and then we'll finish up. But I did thank you, Dave and Lori, for your reports here. This is where I saw the pictures of the wastewater treatment plant. Is that Smith Road pump problem from before the fix or after since the fix? You're still there, Dave? That was my only question.
I'm here, but I'm not 100% sure what you're looking at. We did have a garment make its all the way into the pump station recently, an entire bathrobe. Did cause an issue getting that dug out of it, but with the new pump station, it allowed staff to extract that without having to go down into the wet well. So the new system worked flawlessly for the purpose that it is designed. But yeah, it was a human caused scenario.
Yeah, that's what I picture. I was looking at it, wondering if it was just old and new. Great, it worked. Appreciate it. Are the biosolids available to pick up yet? Are we getting closer?
We are getting closer. We're working in the testing stages now to get the final analytics on it so that DEQ will approve that.
2 weeks. Great, thank you. And again, you probably saw in the news our past attorney, Peter Watts, passed away silently. So I wanted to, I saw Tyler got the message from someone and passed it on. I just wanted to kind of condolences to his family there. I didn't get to work with him a long time, but he did a great job for Scappoose, and reading his bio, he did a lot of good work for a lot of good people. So
He just
passed away.
wow.
Supposedly just at his desk one day. So yeah, sad news.
Condolences.
Yeah.
Are we going to put something for him on our website? Just condolences?
Yeah, there is a link or a bio we can put out there. I could share it. I think Tyler shared it once, and so I'll look for it.
Thank you.
Keep our eye out
Yeah.
for it.
That'd be nice.
Counselor LaFrance.
Nothing tonight.
7 minutes.
So starting tomorrow, I will no longer meet the residency requirements that are required for a City of Scappoose city councilor. So tonight I am resigning as a city councilor. It's been an amazing 2.5 years. We are moving 5 miles down the road to Warren. We are leaving the city of Scappoose, but we are not leaving the Scappoose community. Looking forward to my daughter starting kindergarten in the Scappoose school systems next year and being very involved in the schools and sports. And you'll probably see my name on the school board ballot in a couple of years. So we will be close neighbors. It's been an honor to serve and a pleasure to work with both staff and fellow counselors. And the mayor, half of us came on at the same time 2.5 years ago. So we've done a lot in 2.5 years, and I do hope to see the council continue to have representation of young families. I know this, I think I'm the third counselor in a row that's resigned with young kids for various reasons, mostly just moving out of the city limits. So it's been a pleasure and thank you. We'll miss you, but be in touch.
Well, thank you for your service. Yeah, we have public comment every
Thank
2
you.
weeks, so come and talk. Yes, we will keep working for the young families of Scappoose, that's for sure. Appreciate it.
You'll
So
be
now on the
missed.
next meeting, we will have a notice of vacancy at our next meeting, and we'll be looking probably shortly thereafter, put out looking for applicants for that. So we'll talk about that at the next meeting, the schedule and how long and when we'll have interviews. Okay, appreciate it. Nothing more tonight. Arrivederci.
Good night.
About under 8 o'clock.